to save my lazy ass from editing and to save you from reading, this is narrated. As you can see in the original game, the lasers are their individual entity. They interact with the environment. The bullet goes into the obstructing object, and it also goes into the background. The laser dots are perfectly aligned with the lines coming out of the weapon and the dots on the wall, and the bullet goes exactly where the lasers are in a line depending on the horizontal or vertical mode of the plasma cutter. Just remember this because I'm going to showcase footage from the other games to make a point in a few minutes. This is the second game. In this game you had two options. This is the classic mode in the options menu, and once again, just like the first game, the lasers are their individual entity interacting with the environment, and the bullets will go exactly where the dots are. Now this is not the plasma cutter, but you get the point. The dots are aligned with the weapon model's laser lines, and the bullet goes to where the dots are. If you go into the options, however, you have center mode. Now the laser will no longer interact with the environment. It is going to be centered at all times, irregardless of what's in the way or whatever, and some people preferred this. This was a choice in the prior games. You could choose between this or the interactive realistic one that I prefer. I just want you to remember these modes because I'm about to show you the tiny little issue with the remake in about a second. The remake seems to have some sort of weird combination of the two, where the reticle is in the middle of the screen being its own centered entity, and it's just not coming from the weapon. As you can see, the lines coming out of the weapon model don't align with the dots, and the bullets don't even go to where the dots are. As you can see, it shoots completely off to the right with that laser dot on the right there. This creates a problem because not only is it not realistic, because the lines don't align with the dots as a laser should. Now, of course, in real life, you wouldn't see a full laser line only unless there's mist in the room. However, the dots, again, they don't align to where the bullet is going, so I don't understand why they did this, as it doesn't make it easier to aim, as it just confuses the player. But this causes an issue as well, because if only the center dot determines whether the weapon's aim is obstructed or not, doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of having the plasma cutter in different modes? I mean, if only the center dot determines whether you're aiming at something or behind it, then what's the difference between the horizontal and vertical mode? I thought I was crazy, but then I saw a YouTube video showing that he was shooting this baby enemy. I forgot their name. He was shooting this baby enemy. Here I'm just showcasing, by the way, that the dots are wobbling on their own, not even aligning with the weapon. This is just to showcase the issue further. But anyway, he was shooting this baby enemy that I forgot the name of, and he was talking about how there is a hit detection issue in the game. And I thought I thought I sucked. I shot them multiple times in the tentacles, and they didn't die. They didn't come off. And then he showcased that no, there's just a detection issue with the damage, because when the center dot is on the tentacle, the baby takes damage. But when any other dot is touching the tentacles, it's not taking damage. It goes behind the enemy. So this is why I made this video. I ran out of footage, so look at this beautiful image of Isaac while I'm talking. But that's basically my point, that this creates confusion as to where you're actually shooting, because only the center dot determines whether you're shooting on the enemy or behind it, it seems. So yeah, the dots are misaligned, and they are not. The bullets are not even going to where the dots are at times. Now again, don't get me wrong. The remake is a beautiful remake with crazy detail, which just further baffles me how they missed such a weird tiny little thing. I mean, they implemented that your suit freezes when you go out into a vacuum, and then when you come in, it melts and you become wet for a few seconds. So I just don't understand how they could miss such a tiny little thing. But I mean, maybe it's just not possible in their engine or something. I don't know, but I just wanted to show this in case they decide to make, Dead Space 4 or Dead Space 2 Remake. Please put the original laser system back, because it was really cool. This video was inspired by a person that, there's a lot of subjective changes in the remake. Some people prefer the old story over the new one, and some people prefer the new one. Some character changes, yada yada, but those are all subjective changes that you can have an opinion about. However, this is not subjective. I mean, this is just objectively, one laser is correct and the other laser is a weird gaming system. Now, you can prefer one over the other, that's subjective, but objectively speaking as to which is more realistic, the original was. And that's why I'm making this video, because it was inspired by a guy that made a YouTube video. I forgot the title, but it was something like the only objective thing that looks better in the original Dead Space compared to the remake, and he showcased the room where you shoot these floating rocks into a beam that destroys them, and in the remake they just explode. However, in the original, the rocks would go into the beam and get crushed into tiny rock pieces and then crushed into sand, and then that's how they would disappear. And that's objectively, more physically correct and more impressive visually as well. So yeah, and then there was this other guy that made this video where the first time you encounter the baby enemy, again, still don't know the name, but there's a guy behind a window that gets attacked, and in the original the sound is muffled. However, in the remake it's not muffled, and that was a thing. It's objectively better, because he's behind glass, he should be muffled. And I also found one more thing that I forgot to record. The first time you encounter a necromorph, the very first room when that thing gets triggered, the orange lights and stuff, and you stand behind when you're checking the damage report of the Ishimura, the first necromorph that comes into the room, in the original, it comes from the roof and lands on the floor, if I checked correctly when I played the game. However, in the remake, it is super funny and super strange. Now, you wouldn't see this on your first playthrough, obviously, but when you know where it comes from, try to take a look at that when you're doing it the next time. Go into the beginning of the game in the remake and trigger that sequence and angle the camera staring at the floor behind Chen. You will see that the necromorph literally just gets sucked into reality from the floor, like, and then the necromorph is just there from nowhere, and it's kind of goofy. So these are the only things that I could find that are objectively better in the original compared to the remake. Now again, the remake is amazing. The fact that I have to nitpick and find these crazy, stupidly unnecessary details should tell you everything you need to know about how good this, remake is. And I know there's a bunch of soft blocks in the game and so on and so forth, but those are probably gonna get patched. And if not, I mean, listen, they happen so seldomly. And again, the remake is just so good that I can't see an issue with it to be bad enough not to play the game. So again, this should tell you everything you need to know about my opinion of the remake. It's amazing. It is perfect in so many ways. I'm just making these few videos, to showcase tiny minor issues that might be fixable. And that's about that. The only and last extra thing that I can add here, in regards to my previous video, this is bonus material, you can click off the video now, but if you remember my flame room video, I realized something extra cool about that glitch. If you die or reload your save in the flame room, not only do those flames disappear that I showed you, to that tiny little extra section over there, actually the second row of flames also disappear if you walk close to them. So if you're struggling in the flame room or on impossible or something like that, just save in the flame room, reload your save, and then the second row of flames will be completely turned off. They will be on, but when you walk close to them, they will turn off, and you can just trivialize that room and walk past the second row completely. However, use this at your own risk. It is a bug, so I can't guarantee that it works every single time, but if you want to cheese that room, that is an option. Alright, peace out.